Thursday afternoon here in lovely Kennesaw, Georgia. You're joining us here on Three Guys Who Love Sports. My name is Chuck Burge, along with my co-host, Mr. Robert Kinney. How are you, buddy?
Living the dream, sir. Glad I'm still warm.
Yep. Were you warm when you played Santa Claus on Saturday?
I didn't play Santa Claus, and for all these people who are spreading rumors that I'm Santa, it's
I
gonna
thought
come.
you told me you were going to be Santa.
Santa?
No, that was
I know him.
That was Carrick who said, "Oh, you must be playing Santa." Which
That was Carrick, yeah.
I gave him the universal peace signal. I can't remember which one of these it was, but either way,
One of those three?
It was one of those three.
So, welcome. Glad your little charity event went well over the weekend.
It did. Very nice.
As we mentioned, we're here at Miller's, and they've got a new dish that I'm trying tonight, Mimi's Fiesta Bowl.
Mimi's Fiesta Bowl. You can never go wrong with Nana something or Mimi something. Yeah.
Mimi's what we call my mom, so
There you go.
I had to try it just for my mom, right? Are you going back to the fajitas this week?
I did not. I actually went something new. I went with a chicken BLT something.
Wow. It's nice to try something new.
Dare to compare.
There you go. Larry, how about you? What did you get for dinner this week?
He's the calamari kid.
No, he's the calamari squid. Or the squid kid.
He could be the squid kid, but
Yeah. So a lot of good things went on over the weekend, like Robert had some charity stuff, but this was probably the most talked about weekend in the history of sports. So, we've got Three Guys Who Love Sports. And, we didn't talk about it real quick, but the reason this show exists is I have a friend named Steve Pearson who developed prostate cancer a couple of years ago. And we wanted to get on the air and help Steve take his mind off of what he's going through at least an hour a week. And if you do the same for one of your friends and they do the same for one of their friends, this world will be a better place.
and so on and so on.
Not only during Christmas, but throughout the whole year. So Merry Christmas to everybody. Steve, you and your family, wish you the best as you continue 2 years into your recovery.
Absolutely. And just to back up Chuck's statement there, it's great that you're trying not to be a complete D-bag during the month of December, but spread it out. Try to be a decent person maybe in March. Hey, what the heck? Try June. Maybe you could be a decent human being in June. Who
I
knows?
am historically unpleasant in March.
That's because you're a basketball
you're
fan.
strictly unpleasant in every month, so that's okay.
That is not true.
He's very pleasant.
All right, so we have a couple of guests on today. Typically we have three guys who love sports. Today we have three guys and a very knowledgeable woman about sports. And it's not often that it happens, but she actually texted me yesterday and said, Chuck, I want to get on here and talk about this college football committee. So everybody welcome Jay Snip and Heather Perry to the show.
Oh, we are going to talk about the college football committee.
So based on Adam's comments, I think we're going to have a
Oh, Lord.
committee of five here. Probably Larry will throw in something too. So
Go figure.
Yeah, let's first talk about the games, which were pretty awesome.
Start with
Jay,
the Pac. Pac was the first game. The Pac was
the Pac-12.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Friday night game.
Yeah, the first one I picked wrong over the weekend. The first of many I picked wrong over the weekend. But, we'll talk a little bit. The one thing I left off the list today off our agenda was about the Heisman. We'll have to throw in something about the Heisman before we get to the end. So Oregon got beat by
Washington
on Friday night, again by 3 points, but this time on a neutral field. And they weren't favorites. They were 9.5-point underdogs. So it was kind of odd to see that happen.
Well,
everybody thought that was an Oregon game.
Well, it looked like an Oregon game, and whenever Vegas throws out a 9.5-point spread, you got to believe they know something. But at the same time, it was a 4-point Oregon league, and they had multiple opportunities to make an 11-point game with 5 minutes left. They didn't. They lost by 3. Blah 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 blah. But it was almost right on the money.
It was almost a duplicate of the first game too that they played.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's pretty crazy. And then you think, well, what if the top four all win? It's an easy thing to do. It'd be Georgia, Michigan, Washington, FSU.
But apparently winning doesn't matter.
And then Saturday happened.
Clearly.
And then Saturday happened, and it was all over. First game Saturday was Texas and Oklahoma State. Texas was favored by what? With 13
15 and a half.
14 and a half, something like that. And I didn't think they would cover. I didn't take that game in our little betting pool, but
How did you not think they were going to cover? Did you see what UCF did to Oklahoma State?
I did.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
They beat them worse than anybody else did all year, right?
That is true.
Yeah, and it was in Stillwater too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So UCF cleaned their clock. So didn't know what was going to happen there. And then the 3:30 game, Georgia and Alabama, and Texas did win by a lot. What, 50,
Absolutely.
49 to 21 or
Quinn
something like
Ewers
that?
set records for most passing yards and most passing touchdowns in the first half of a Big 12 Conference Championship game.
Absolutely. They completely blew them out of the water. That's why I wanted Oklahoma instead of OK State. Not saying anything, but that Oklahoma Texas game would have given you something different, I believe.
I think it would have too, but it didn't. You can't play
Nope,
on what
nope,
would have been and
nope.
what is. So then we have the 3:30 game, Georgia and Alabama.
I went to the game.
Oh, did you really?
I did.
Did you enjoy it? Who are you for?
So I went with a Georgia fan, so I had to go for Georgia, but I would always go for Georgia because who's going for Alabama ever?
Me.
But-
Alabama always.
No.
There we go.
Roll Tide, baby.
Roll
But
Tide.
I will say,
Listen to Jethro and his Uncle Lenny.
I will
Grandpa
say,
Lynn.
being at an SEC game, I've never seen such slow football in my life. And I know SEC fan come at me, but I'm used to fast-paced football with UCF and the Big 12 and the Big 10, and it was just so slow. And I kind of realized that you can't really always beat the officials either. And there was a lot of
jeez.
holding.
You can't.
A lot of
You
holding.
can't. But at the same time, Saban and Kirby like to play it close to their vest, so they're not doing a lot of crazy things to speed that game up and make it look exciting like a Big 12 game.
Well, they don't. Neither one of them wants to look desperate.
Correct.
That's true. But come the end of the day, we know Alabama won 27-24. Again, Roll Tide. It really, I mean, I've never failed to see a game that Georgia lost that the first thing you see on Facebook is, oh, the referees beat us. The referees beat us. You know, one thing about that call.
Every time Georgia loses, they say that.
Exactly.
The missed kick was the reason they lost that game.
Yes, off the uprights. Yeah. But my whole question was.
The 5-yard penalty before that kick is possibly
But
the
my
culprit.
biggest question was, if there was not a catch, why didn't Kirby Smart challenge it?
He couldn't
Why not?
because it was final 2 minutes of the first half.
I think you can challenge in the last 2 minutes of the first half, just not of the game.
That's not college.
I think you can challenge. I read that from somebody saying, why didn't
I don't
you
know.
challenge?
I don't know.
In that case, someone failed him because
He obviously can't come up with it.
Right. Well, it was so hard to see. In front, I kind of feel for the referees in that case because it wasn't an easy.
No,
I
not at
don't,
all.
because
Not at all.
referees make bad calls in every football game
Yeah.
that's ever played in the history of the game. College, pro, high school, there are always bad calls. It's part of the game, and you learn to live with it.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah. You can't let the game get close enough for them to decide it for you.
Exactly. And to Kirby Smart's credit, I watched his post-game talk to his players, and he said, it's nobody's fault but ours. Each one of you could have played a little bit better. Each one of you could have done this. Each one of you could have done that. I could have done a little bit better. And that's why we lost the game, not because of that. Okay, so now we know who won them all. Now let's talk about,
Wait, we didn't talk
No,
about
we
the
didn't
final.
talk-
We didn't talk about the
ACC
final
Big
two
Ten.
games.
Correct.
Kennesaw.
Michigan
Kennesaw.
and Iowa.
Michigan was a cakewalk. Iowa.
Iowa's offense is terrorism on grass. I've said
Absolutely.
it all year.
Yeah, they're horrible.
They are.
And then the FSU Louisville game wasn't that good. I mean, it wasn't.
I was
55
so
yards
tired.
of offense.
I was trying to come up with reasons why I should stay awake and watch it. I'm like, this game is horrible. This is like staying up late to watch Temple play Rutgers. I don't care.
Do you
So I
think
went
that?
to bed.
Do you think that had an effect on them not being in?
I think it had a huge effect
Oh,
on them. Not
I
being-
mean,
See, that's where I disagree with y'all because their defense was amazing. You had
Their defense is
sacks,
great.
You had an interception. You had 14 tackles for loss. You had 10 pass breakups. You had critical things.
against a top 25
You're
offense in the
You
country.
guys are
A top
absolutely
15.
correct
A
because
top
the
15
week before when that awesome vaunted Louisville defense gave up 38 to a scrappy, horrible loser Kentucky team, and then what did you see? You saw 16 points. You saw multiple dropped pick sixes. Just give me 2 of the dropped pick sixes. You know there was multiple pick sixes dropped. Anybody other than Louisville wins that game, and there's not even a discussion. At the end of the day, they're not asking you for your grandpa's AP vote or your UPI vote. They don't count anymore, folks. This committee is supposed to come up with the 4 best teams. And if you can only scratch 16 points against that and your quarterback is looking like that, you don't get in.
But that's not the quarterback that's going to
gonna
play in the
play in the
playoffs.
No, the backup who didn't look good 2 games ago gets that job.
Against
He
Florida.
looked,
So
he
now
looked
I'm-
better than this quarterback.
Well, this is the worst quarterback that they could have possibly had for this showcase or this stage. But that other quarterback, don't be writing home about, whoa, you've been really missing out on this guy. It's not happening.
The thing is, they still won.
A W is a W.
And a W is a W, and what can you do except for win every game of the season? What more than that? can you
Liberty
look
did that.
pretty?
We're not talking about Liberty doing
No,
something.
no, but they're
we
in a-
will
but
talk
they're in a
about Liberty
conference.
because I have a point about that. I am not happy about that either.
But why is it that we always have to just focus on the offense? Why can't we focus on an amazing defense who's held every single team to 30 points or less throughout the season, has done an amazing job. That quarterback, you're saying he's going to be terrible. He had 1 week to play with that team. Who's to say that if he had a few more weeks,
Me.
he could? But you don't know. I didn't know you were psychic.
Let me keep
No, I
this
don't have to be psychic
Let me
to know
keep
that
this
one.
axe away from these people because this is not good.
At the end of the day, they had a great defense that allowed 30 points or less. Well, 30 points or less isn't going to help if you can only score 16.
But you don't.
So-
but
so it
nobody
doesn't
can
matter.
predict that. Nobody can predict that.
I can
You're
predict.
right.
I can predict if you can only scratch 16 across Louisville when you show up on the stage against Bama, Michigan, or somebody else that's ate some Wheaties this morning. Yeah, you're going to be in big trouble.
Well, 65-7 has a lot to do with this. The
doesn't hurt.
The blowout of last year has a lot to do with this. And I don't know. I love Heather Dinich. I don't know what you think about Heather Dinich, but she wrote a great article yesterday, and she wrote a couple of things that I thought were important. And I was watching Chris Fowler on Sunday morning because when I went to bed Saturday night,
And that's really not true either, but go ahead.
what's that? That I went to bed?
No, 65-7.
Oh, what was it?
No, it was 65-7. That had nothing to do with it, is all I'm saying.
I think it does.
I think it does
I think
too.
it does.
They can't have that again.
They can't have that again. That's
But you guys are all forgetting that a week before they beat Michigan 51-45 and everybody was parading down the streets on how awesome TCU was. Sorry they didn't show up in the biggest game against their best opponent of the year, but this team scored 51 points against Michigan the week before.
But I
They didn't
also-
get that part wrong.
When has Michigan won in the playoffs?
Michigan never
haven't.
wins.
They haven't, right? So who's to say that FSU wouldn't come in and beat Michigan because they don't show up to that game either? So you're sitting here and saying
that's
that
easy
you're
enough.
sitting here and saying that FSU is doing all these things, but no one wants to. I think FSU's defense could hold their own against Michigan.
I don't think
Before
there's
we-
any
They've got a
doubt
great
about
team.
that.
They've got a great
And I
team.
genuinely think that this quarterback, given the chance to work with this team a little bit longer, would have showed up.
But I think Iowa is a really, really, really good defensive team, and they couldn't stop Michigan.
The other problem that you're not thinking about
I
is
told you Larry would say something
Yeah.
about that.
it comes down to the matchups and the money, because
That's what it is.
I don't believe that.
It's all
That's-
about the
Oh,
money.
it's
does.
all it is.
because then if you go beyond the final those 4, if it shook out the way you want, it would have been Georgia and Alabama again in a game that meant nothing, so that they
So what
no one
happened?
would watch it.
Georgia had zero chance of being in the Final Four once I lost.
I'm not talking about
No,
Georgia
he's
being the
talking
Final
about the,
Four.
Orange
I'm talking
Bowl.
about 5 and 6 would have been Georgia and Alabama,
In the Orange
and they
Bowl.
would have played again in the Orange Bowl with nothing
Oh,
on the
yeah, yeah.
line,
They wouldn't have
and
had
no
those
one
two
would have
players.
watched.
Wait,
That
so
wouldn't
I have
happen.
a question. If FSU beats Georgia, is it because they're just not motivated to win because it's not an important bowl
If
game?
Probably so.
FSU beats Georgia,
I'm just saying.
people
Probably so.
people will say that it shouldn't count because Georgia has these 12 players
And they're
sitting
not
out,
motivated
and they're not
and blah, blah,
motivated.
blah.
Other
And
than
if
the two-
FSU loses, they're going to say, "Oh, well, FSU sucks. They shouldn't have been in the playoffs."
At
Other than the two CFB semifinals, no bowl game matters because you don't know who's going to play, who's going to
Correct.
be there.
And if you're snubbed,
Caleb
if you
just
feel
telling me
snubbed,
I'm not gonna play.
Who knows how you're going to show up?
Yeah.
That's Georgia's fault. But Georgia's done it multiple times in the Kirby reign, where they get snubbed, don't get invited to the Final Four, and they sleepwalk into a Utah, they sleepwalk into something else.
Texas.
A lot of things that they've sleptwalked into, and absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit real quick about how the committee looks at this. What they do is first is they pick the number one team.
Correct. That's when
And they
Captain
gave up.
Khaki, also known as Jim Harbaugh, was looking at the camera going, "Yeah, baby, cheated, got suspended, still number one. Who's your daddy now?"
Yeah.
So Michigan's number one.
But
number
how?
I don't think they should even be in it. They cheated to get there.
I don't
can't
believe. I
not
don't believe
punish
they,
that.
I don't. Well, they did. They put their coach on the side
That
for
is
3
not
weeks.
a
Oh,
punishment.
no, don't worry. The punishment's coming. Don't worry.
Everybody in college does that.
But-
They send players to watch the next game of the team they're going to play. What they did, I don't know. I don't care because everybody does it. Michigan just was poor about what they did,
on
what
the
everybody else
sidelines.
does.
But I do want
Everybody does
I want to
that.
bring up just one quick little point. You had a Michigan who only played 2 ranked teams throughout the season. You had a Washington played 4, Texas played 4, Alabama played 4, FSU played 2. Why is all of a sudden Ohio State better than at LSU in the beginning of the year when everybody had LSU ranked so high and FSU beat them? And they didn't just beat them, they beat them by 2 possessions.
Yeah, but Ohio State isn't relevant at this point because they didn't get invited.
I understand that, but my question to you is why is it saying to all of these kids in this whole entire team that one player means that you don't have a chance anymore. You don't matter.
Not
And that's
only
what they're saying.
not,
That's
not
not-
only that,
That's what they're
but
saying.
That's not what they're saying.
You're telling me that FSU is really better than Georgia and Ohio State and Oregon?
Well, I think
During the season, they were.
But
then you
right
can't go back on
now,
your
off
word.
what we saw in Louisville, they should be ranked 8th. If we're going based off the best teams, they should be 8. They are not better than Ohio State.
I agree.
They're not
they
better
did
than.
not drop them far enough. They should have been dropped further than
And why
that.
didn't they drop them last week?
Hey,
Why
Tom,
didn't they
but
drop
they
them
should-
last week
because
when they
everybody
ranked
was
them?
hoping that they would lose and it would take care of itself.
But you can't do that.
Because you used to have people that were like world movers, like Condoleezza Rice, kicking butt and figuring out stuff. Now you got Vinny from the bakery. Tune-up Tommy's coming up with who he expects to
Tune-up
win.
Tommy.
How
Okay.
can you say Alabama's that good though? Look who they almost lost to. They should not have beat Auburn. Everybody wants to forget that they
If
got
you-
lucky.
if
That
you wa-
defensive
if you wanna
coordinator
know
messed
about
up.
Captain Khaki and Michigan and how they're getting their payback, it's real easy. Because when you watched him the whole time and he was looking at everything, and they go, Texas is number 3. And he's like, yeah, baby, I'm in the Final Four. All I got is Washington, Texas, and
Okay.
just Nick Saban.
I've got to read this from the committee. The committee says people may not believe it, but we don't say, oh gosh, if we vote this way, the SEC is going to be left out. One source said that never came up ever. We literally look at teams.
But it should come
Let me
up.
finish. Put them up against each other and say, who did they beat? Who did they not beat? And who have they beaten on the road? What's their strength of schedule? Look at the matrix and all the data.
But shouldn't they know who the SEC is when they're sitting there?
No, who the SEC
Who
is
is the
shouldn't
SEC
matter.
this year? Who is the SEC
It
this
shouldn't
year?
matter.
Texas A&M, who they almost lost to. Auburn, who they almost lost to. Arkansas, they
This
struggled
is the
against.
18th year.
USF, University of South Florida, they almost lost
This
to.
is the 18th year since Vince Young wowed the world by winning a national championship in the Rose Bowl. Everybody remember that? Vince Young was
Yes.
amazing. This is the 18th season. Out of the previous 17 years, 13 national champions. 4 of them have won multiples. Sorry, Auburn and Scam Newton only won 1, but there's 3 ACC. That's 1 FSU, 2 Clemson, 1 Ohio State, Big Ten. Nobody else. That's why they automatically deserve recognition for that. Because if you're not paying attention to what you've been watching for the last 17 years, you shouldn't have a vote.
But just because they've been good for the last 17 years doesn't mean they're good this year.
And if you didn't, and if you watched all of the games this weekend, which I believe you did, and you did not believe whoever was slapping spit out of somebody's mouth at the Georgia-Alabama game wasn't going to beat up on somebody else, you weren't paying attention.
All right, we're going to all take a deep breath here. This is a fun conversation, but we've got to get to one of our commercials. And Alvin Jameson, please.
Hey, Alvin Jameson here, the mortgage guy. Are you looking to get pre-approved for a home loan? Or maybe you want to build a house from the ground up? Are you curious, or better yet, is your significant other on your back about making renovations in your current home? Call me. I have options for you. All self-employed individuals. Are you torn between writing off all your income or having to show your income to qualify for a house? I have a third alternative for you. Whether you're a W-2 employee, self-employed individual looking to do a purchase or pull money out of your current house, or better yet, we can't forget the investors out there. If you have that high interest rate, hard money loan and looking to refinance out of it, again, give me a call. I have options. Below are the states that I'm personally licensed in. Call me, 404-587-9033. Again, 404-587-9033. Visit the website, alvinjameson.com.
For being a sponsor of the Three Guys Who Love Sports, and we appreciate that. And listen, the debate did not stop while you were listening.
It did not.
It's still going on. So I'm going to give my take. When I went to bed Saturday night, I thought that FSU was in. I thought it was Alabama, Michigan, Washington, and FSU. But I got up and I watched Chris Fowler on Sunday morning, and he brought up 3 points to me that were very lucid and that made a lot of sense to me. There's 4 spots, 5 teams. Somebody's going to get left out. What would the argument have been if it would have been Bama that left out? What would have been argument if Washington was left out? There's always somebody that's going to be left out when you're down to 5. Number 2, the only time that the committee can look forward is this week. And it's in the bylaws. It said we can consider serious injuries to dominant players looking forward. And the last question Chris Fowler said that they asked is, would you want to play this team? And I guarantee you, everybody in that room said, without Travis Jordan, or Jordan Travis, I don't even remember which one it is. Everybody,
Either one of them.
Yeah, everybody wants to play Florida State. And I think that is the injury to Jordan Travis, to me, is the only reason Florida State was left out.
And hypothetically, 2.5 months ago, they might have been on a very short list of 3 teams who you did not want to play.
Absolutely.
Because he was that good and the rest of the team is very
But the
good.
bylaws allow them to look at that.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
to counter that point, Liberty got picked to go to the Fiesta Bowl over SMU.
Weakest schedule in the world.
Weakest schedule in the world.
No Power 5 teams.
SMU lost 2 games all year, Oklahoma and TCU, by 17. And TCU's not a great team. But SMU's starting quarterback is hurt. And they beat Tulane in the conference championship game without their starting quarterback.
Sorry about that,
Who threw
Larry.
for 3,200 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, and he led the American in yards per completion.
But what does that got to do with the
And
4 that are in the CFP?
when the chairman was asked, did SMU's starting quarterback play a factor in not putting them in the Fiesta Bowl, he said no.
And I don't believe he did, because I believe at that point there was only 2 possibilities. It was Tulane that was going if they won the game, and it was going to be Liberty if
But
they didn't.
SMU is better than Liberty.
Oh, we don't have to worry about that one either, because they get Oregon.
But the rules are.
But their logic is inconsistent.
No. The rules are there. It's who's ranked higher, and Liberty was ranked in the top 25, where SMU was not.
It's
But
the
in the
only
final
time,
rankings, they
it's the
could've
only
moved up.
poll
In the
that
final
matters.
rankings, SMU is 24.
Wait, can I?
and they were 23.
But their
And
logic
Liberty's
is
23.
inconsistent.
Can I
Jordan
just ask-
Travis's injury matters.
Can I just ask you a question? Is football an objective sport or a subjective sport? Because I'm pretty sure as a competitive cheerleader my whole life, it was always a subjective thing where you were sitting in front of judges, whether it was gymnastics, figure skating. It's a subjective sport. Football is not. Why are we making it? So you're telling me, oh, the quarterback went out. Okay, so Trevor Lawrence went out for Jacksonville. Oh, take him out of the playoffs. They don't belong because he's a key player. You can't say that. The NFL's not like that. Why does college football have to be like that?
Because they don't have a playoff system.
Then you need to
They don't
change
have-
the bylaws.
Then they don't have a playoff
Somebody
system
needs
like
to
the
change the
NFL.
bylaws.
If Trevor doesn't play the next month and they lose a lot of games, they won't go to the playoffs.
But-
That's how that works.
But it's ridiculous to me that you're looking at it that way because we talk about these style points that we have to have in offense style.
ridiculous.
You're risking injury. You're risking injury to key players because you're keeping them in the game because you have to beat teams by 20 to 30 points.
You didn't have. There was no
But
player on FSU to win that game by 30 points. That was their best.
But here's the thing: forget FSU right now. I'm talking in general. Why does college football? Why is it becoming that? It's not fair to these kids busting their butts. They're risking injury.
It doesn't matter after this year anyway.
It will because I can guarantee you they'll
The
put a
12th
two.
and the 13th team.
I
11 and
guarantee.
12.
I guarantee you they'll put a 2-loss, 3-loss SEC
Absolutely.
team over an
'Cause
undefeated
they've
group
looked
of
at
5
the
teams.
records.
They should.
But that's not fair.
They should. Fair? Hold the phone.
Robert's looking something up. That
people-
always means trouble.
People have said this for years about the SEC, and I agree with it. The SEC's at a huge disadvantage because the SEC has to play the SEC all season long.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but who are they playing?
Who's in the SEC right now?
The
Texas
SEC
A&M?
East?
Who?
What-
Arkansas? Who?
what-
The
This is-
East is horrible.
Thank
And,
you.
that's
The
what,
West is
that's what-
horrible
that's
outside
what
of
check-
Alabama and LSU
So you're telling me a
Well,
group of 5 team who goes undefeated?
According to
and
the-
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M, Ole Miss is the one who made the freaking tournament.
Wait.
If it was next year. And as far as the East being god
And
awful,
Missouri.
guess what? Missouri's playing in it. So
Missouri had a chance to beat Georgia. They were down 27-21
So you're
and had the ball.
saying that
next year's playoffs applied to this year's. Wow.
So you're
You
saying a
talk
group
about
of 5
awesome.
team.
How many SEC teams are in it?
There's 4, but you'd have Penn
There's
State coming to
bias.
Athens.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
biased
Ole Miss
though.
going to Columbus. Missouri heading to Eugene. And Liberty going to Tallahassee.
But now you're like everybody wants to say that the playoff it's going to get so much better next year. It's growing. It's not changing, and it's not fair to say to these group of 5 teams who go undefeated, who win their conference championship, and then they're not going to get a chance in the playoffs because everybody wants to praise SEC. If you don't think it's about money and sponsorships and about everything
Of
else,
course
then
it's
you're
about
crazy.
money. Everybody knows it's about
You're-
money. But it's also about what kind of a competitive edge you can possibly have on the field. And when you're talking about the group of 5 getting a token into a game against somebody who is bigger, better, and going to pound them into the ground.
But you don't know that.
You're
just like
going to see it this year. You're going to
But
see
you
it next
can't,
year. Yes.
because everybody
I don't
thought
have
Auburn was gonna
I don't-
kill
I
UCF.
don't, I don't have to live in La La Land. No, Auburn's not a good team.
When everybody
Auburn's not
thought,
this year.
but not this year. I'm talking about when Auburn and UCF played in the Peach Bowl. Everybody assumed that Auburn was going to beat the pants
But
off
it
of
wasn't
UCF,
a great
and they
Auburn
didn't.
team either.
They
You're
still
talking-
had their starting quarterback in the key player, right? The key player.
But
and,
they weren't a good team.
and
That's
against-
why they were in the Peach Bowl.
But you can't say that. So you're saying that
I am
that's
saying
an
that.
SEC team. Okay, then
They
an
were like
SEC
the
is
6th
not
best.
good. They're
they
not
were
good,
the
guys.
6th best SEC team
Yeah.
that
You're
year.
going
Beat
back
the
on your
SEC
word.
team.
I've been saying all year that the Big Ten's better than the SEC.
I agree, and so is the Pac-12 at this point. If you look at the rankings in the Pac-12, there was more ranked teams at a certain point that everybody was playing over the SEC. Period. Alabama almost lost to USF. I'm just going to leave that there.
Well,
USF.
Alabama did lose to who? Texas?
They
At
did.
home by 10
home.
points.
Right. And I called that.
And Texas lost to who? Oklahoma?
Yep.
And Oklahoma is a 2-loss team, aren't they?
2 or 3.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
So who was the only person on our panel? And I know Robert wrote these down. Who's the only person on our panel that said Georgia would not make the Final Four?
You.
You say it every time, every place you get an opportunity. You're not going to get any
If you
credit
go
for that.
back, if
I
you
said-
go back and look at the
I
beginning
said
of the
Texas
year,
and Washington would
How
meet
about,
in
how
the
about
playoff,
this? If
though.
Larry could give me the show that I asked him for earlier this weekend, you would listen to what happens at the end of the year. And I said an undefeated Georgia team will lose the SEC championship to a one-loss Alabama team. I said that 5
I
months
also
ago.
said the undefeated Florida State would be left out of the playoffs last week, and you people told me I was crazy.
it's just wrong.
They shouldn't have been left
They
out.
shouldn't have been left out of the
period.
playoffs, but I
If
knew they
they're a
would.
Power
The committee
5
got it
conference.
right.
The ACC
The committee got it wrong.
The ACC
The
is a
committee
good conference.
got it right.
They won every game they played. They should be in it.
Period.
Instead, we got Alabama.
Who everybody is terrified of. Those other 3 cities.
Texas isn't. I can guarantee you Texas isn't.
Oh, you are freaking. What are you taking today?
Why would
If you don't- if you don't-
Texas be
if-
afraid of them when they've already beat them at home?
You can't beat them twice.
Because it's logic.
You
if
can't
you
beat them twice.
if
Washington
you
beat Oregon twice, and
Washington
they said
beat
they couldn't do
Washington
it.
beat Oregon twice.
I'm just saying, and they said they couldn't. So
But we're-
She'd have to make sense for me to make my comment, so I'm gonna go with that.
That makes sense.
Nothing makes sense. If you were lucky enough to beat Alabama, which I'm not saying they were lucky to beat the game, they won that game. But when you play a school like Alabama, there's nobody in the world that wants to play Alabama twice.
No.
And when you're looking at those 3 teams that they were named, they're all sitting there going,
I can guarantee you Georgia wants to play Alabama again.
It's hard to
Absolutely.
beat the same team twice, especially with a good coach. It's really hard,
can-
and a
it can
good
be.
coach with time to prepare.
So let me ask this: is there any other team that should have made it? I know.
I mean,
Jay said the
objectively,
Dogs.
if we're picking the 4 best teams, Georgia should be in.
Okay, and this is your point. If we're looking at it objectively, don't tell me that a 29 game winning streak that ended by 3 points, they lost the game. Forget about didn't catch the ball. Forget about doinked the extra point. Also, in that same vein, if you're telling me 3 weeks ago that the second best team in the country is Ohio State, and they lost to Michigan, that they're banished to the back room forever. Clearly those 2 teams could have competed with anybody.
Georgia's best win this year was Missouri. Period.
Yeah, I agree with that, but they
Yeah,
went on a
not Ole
29-game win
Miss- not Ole
streak.
Miss when they scored
lost to
50.
Alabama by 3.
To your point earlier,
I don't-
It doesn't matter what happens the year before. It's this year.
I
What about when they scored
understand
over
that.
And why bring up a
But
29-game win streak?
if we're picking the 4 best teams in the country, Georgia beat the crap out of everybody all year, except for Missouri. They only beat them by like 7.
least.
And
If-
they beat Ole Miss by like 50. So I think
Exactly.
that's a
If
little
we're
bit of a
picking
win.
the 4 best, if we are really truly picking the 4 best teams in the country, it should be Michigan, it should be Ohio State, Georgia, and probably Alabama.
Ohio State.
Oh, no, Washington has to be in there. They played 4 ranked teams. They're
But,
the only
but
team.
winning doesn't matter.
Oh, true.
Winning
That's
doesn't
true. It's
matter.
subjective.
Michigan
it's not
with or without
objective.
cheating.
Hey, I thought I made a screenshot of it, but has anybody looked at the top 15 right now?
No.
And if you look at the top 15, what do they have in common? There's only one team that next year won't be in the Big Ten or the SEC. One team in the top 15 in the country next year.
And why is that? Money. It's all. If no one can see it clear.
Well, speaking
that
of-
Well, they all got paid.
I
Speaking of
pray
money-
Alabama gets their butts worked because there's no reason they should have won. Because I don't think they should have beat that game in Auburn. That was the defensive coordinator messed up that call. Who rushes to? Doesn't have has a spine on the quarterback. What did you think he was
can
going
you
to
rush
do?
to?
Run 30 yards when you had your best defensive. That was crazy. They should have lost
How
that
about
game.
when Georgia was second and 20? Alabama was second and 26 against Georgia. That should have never happened.
I
And
said
they
it.
threw a bomb
Georgia
against Devontae Smith.
Georgia was exposed. And they saw what they happened when they rely on their one player Bowers, and he doesn't have the game of his life. They were exposed.
If Brock Bowers had
Hang
been
on.
out for the
They were
season,
exposed.
Speaking of money,
do they make the playoffs?
No,
speaking of money,
because they wouldn't have won.
We're going to do this commercial, but
Speaking
right
of
before
money,
I do
we need
this,
to do
right before I do this commercial, I've been saying it for a year and a half into the same microphone when everybody said, well, clearly Alabama's gone forever. Why? Because they lost 2 games
I never
last
said
year by 2
I
points.
never said
Everybody-
Alabama was done
Can't wait
forever.
for that day.
Every-
I do not believe that. Nick Saban is one of the
Everybody
greatest
said
coaches.
Everybody said it last year because they lost 2 games, 3 points in LSU and 1 point there. And oh my God, it's the one team nobody wants to face. Did Georgia lose to them? Absolutely. Will they lose to them again? Absolutely. Until Saban the android retires to Florida, everybody's in trouble.
We
for a
don't
long
want him
time
in
to come.
Florida.
Commercial.
He already bought that house.
He's a new evil genius.
Ask how he
There
did in
are a lot-
Miami.
There are a lot of places to get your oil changed in the Kennesaw area, but if you're looking for a personal experience, then stop in at Castro Kennesaw Express Lube or Lost Mountain Express Lube. We'll always do our best to get you in and out quickly, safely, and without a whole lot of fuss. Unlike this show, we're a true owner-operated business, and you'll find Brian under a car hood or at either one of the shops. We offer experienced, knowledgeable technicians and the latest computer software to help you maintain your new car warranty and keep your pride and joy running for the next 100,000 miles. We proudly offer Castrol products.
And we thank you, Brian Bristow, for being a sponsor. And I have to share a great story about Brian. Carrick Martin's wife, Grace, went in there with windshield wipers, and they swapped them out for free.
Absolutely.
And that's a great customer service thing
Honk,
for
honk.
Brian to do. So
That's how our sponsors roll.
That's how our sponsors roll, and they continue to pay their bills. So the next time you need an oil change, make sure you make it to Kennesaw Express Lube at the corner of Summer Street and Cobb Parkway.
Or right next to the Wendy's on Mars Hill, close to 120.
Lost Mountain Express. There you go. All right, so back to this minor confrontation.
We're not. I think we could agree to disagree on this one.
Yes, we are. But that's the one thing that's great about college football is controversy. Yeah, I think it's what feeds the passion. I mean, they don't get this kind of passion at Rutgers. They don't get this kind of
They
passion.
will soon because they're a Big Ten team.
And speaking of that, I have we try to jump at them with a
no.
question. As of today, there are only 2 FBS teams or FBC schools
FBS.
that have never been to a bowl game. Can you name them? Can anybody on this panel name the two
2
schools
FBS teams.
that have never been to a bowl game?
Are we counting the teams that are transitioning like James Madison?
No, because they're in one this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
And you're not counting Liberty, even though they haven't played that game yet?
that's correct.
Okay. 2 FBS teams that have never been to a bowl game.
Who are they, Chuck?
I got nothing.
Sam Houston
Well,
and UMass. Those are the 2 colleges that have never been to a bowl game. I just read that today. I thought that was interesting stat. That's why they call it trivia. Yeah.
So
All right, here we go.
this is the top 15, and as of next year, this is what conferences they'll be in: Big Ten, SEC, SEC, ACC, SEC, Big Ten, SEC, Big Ten, SEC, SEC, Big 12. That's a top 13. The top 13 teams, there's one team that is not in the Big Ten or SEC next year. It's going to be crazy. It's people
But
are talking
again-
about strength of schedule. So, when somebody comes undefeated out of the Big 12, look at this team. They're undefeated. Well, that's not the same as Michigan having 1 loss after playing Oregon, Washington, and Ohio State. during the season.
Oregon's going to Purdue next year. I
you
actually
go.
thought about going to the game.
You should.
Larry pointed out something. You know who plays on karaoke night next year? Georgia
Dogs
and
and-
Alabama.
Yep.
It's cool with the 12-team playoff. It works out okay for conferences like the SEC or the Big Ten because they can send multiple teams into
3
the
or
playoff.
4.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
the controversy's not going away.
No.
Oh, no.
Whoever is number 11 and who doesn't get
12
in.
and
is gonna
13.
No, 12 doesn't matter because it's the non-Power 5 conference.
11 and 13 then.
Yeah.
You want to know why it doesn't matter? Because winning doesn't matter to the committee. So
Yeah, winning doesn't
winning
matter.
doesn't matter. You can lose 2
It does
games.
matter.
How about
doesn't.
how about we talk about a version of football where winning does matter?
That'd be the NFL where everything
Yes,
is
it
proven
would
on
be.
the field.
We're
Yeah.
not getting there yet. We're still got some other things we got to talk about in college football. I'm loving this. How about the transfer portal? I'm shocked at the number of
I'm not.
quarterbacks.
They're up 57% from last
Can
year.
you see how many quarterbacks?
And I don't even think it's for
scholarship
schools.
quarterbacks are in the
Yeah.
Like
portal this year.
Ohio State's quarterback.
Kyle McCord.
11 and 1.
But they got the Washington State quarterback.
Oh, did they already?
Yeah.
It's
they
about
got
those
Cam Newton.
NIL deals. That's
Yeah.
what it's about.
It's NIL, and
Brock Vandergriff is already a Kentucky Wildcat.
Yeah.
and they're naming their price.
$1.5 to $2 million for a quarterback.
According to Matt Rule.
Yeah, the Georgia quarterback has named his price at $4 million to stay.
Carson Beck?
Yeah, he says he wants $4 million to stay at Georgia, or else he's
You know
going to go
what-
to the NFL.
Oh, you know
Really?
what I'm saying? Don't
He's
don't
gonna
let the door
suck
hit
in the
ass.
NFL. He's gonna suck in the
Don't let the
NFL.
door
He's
hit
not a
the
good
ass.
quarterback.
No, but if Georgia
I
doesn't pay
agree,
him, he
but-
can jump in the porthole and somebody will give him $2 million.
Listen,
That's
I-
the thing, yeah.
I think the NIL is going to help the bowls though, because these guys, for their sponsors, they need more exposure. They're going to play. If they're, the more games they play, the more money they're going to make in the NIL. So I think it helps the bowls, because it drives me crazy that these players drop out.
The only
And-
thing the bowls helps is the toilet bowl because nobody cares about bowls anymore. And
I
Which is
care about
sad.
bowls when my team is in a bowl
Yeah,
game.
I know, but the
Yeah,
players
my team
don't.
never goes to a
Caleb
bowl
Williams
game,
isn't
but-
playing. I mean, there are a lot of people that are opting out.
which is awful because statistically speaking, the Holiday Bowl is always like the best bowl. It's always 59-55. Well, if they'd have known Caleb Williams wasn't going to play, maybe they picked somebody,
besides USC.
Put him in the
Absolutely.
Little Caesars Bowl.
Yeah.
Actually, that's Big Ten and MAC.
So,
but-
Jay, I actually know Kyle McCord's aunt. And there's a big story there that I can't share yet because she said, don't talk about this on your show, and she watches. So, Carol, I didn't tell the story. But we had a receiver from Ohio State also option out today. Not Harrison, obviously, he's graduating.
He's going to the pros.
He's going pro.
See, I
Like Buka?
93 scholarship quarterbacks are in the portal.
See, but I agree with you. I think if there's an NIL deal in place and there's a sponsorship in place, the bowl game needs to change. And like, you at least should have to play the first half of the game. I understand, like, sometimes you're declaring for the draft, whatever it may be. But if you want a school to pay you, you best believe your butt is playing in that bowl game, and you're going to do the best you can to win it. Because at the end of the day, a New Year's Six bowl win is a New Year's Six bowl win.
And-
why does it have to just be about the playoffs and national championship? They put so much onto that. Make that bowl game your national championship.
Bo Nix is playing.
And they'll probably work that into the contracts. And right now they're in the infancy, but they'll start working it into. Hey, we're going to give you $3 million, but you got to play in the freaking bowl game. We don't care. We'll take all your money back and
Yeah.
make them play.
I would think that was
I
the
like
first
that.
thing they put into to the contracts.
Sure,
They should.
It should be at this point.
Bo Nix is playing in the bowl game against Liberty.
And can I ask you a
I'm
question?
glad about that.
What is going to happen if Liberty upsets Oregon?
You're going to be the guest on the
Nothing,
show that
because-
week.
And what happens if FSU upsets Georgia? I
won't-
better be
it won't
on
matter.
this show.
It
No,
won't
it
matter.
will.
We've already talked about that game.
It
Won't
won't
matter, but you
matter.
will be here if the other one
Last year,
happens.
Tulane upset USC. It was the
Listen,
same thing.
It's a
I'm a
bowl
UC
game. Nobody gives you a rat's butt.
I'm a UCF fan, so I am all for upsets. I love it. I will stand by it that one player is not an entire team. I don't care what anybody said, because you can win on any given day, no matter what.
So what's the point spread in the UCF Georgia Tech game?
I haven't looked at that yet, honestly, but I am going to that game, and I'm so excited. And you know what?
Tampa's a great place
I'm
to
going to
spend
have
New Year's Eve.
a great time, no matter what, because I support my team no matter what bowl game they're in.
Ybor City on New Year's Eve.
Ybor City.
Make sure you go. It's a fun party.
Are you a cigar smoker?
No.
Neither am I, but I love Ybor City on a New Year's Eve. Yeah. College football is just the greatest thing since sliced bread. No matter who wins, no matter who loses, it's always
Hopefully
up for
Alabama.
controversy. It's always fun to talk about. I don't think Alabama's going to win it.
I don't either.
Michigan's a 1.5 point favorite over Bama. Everybody's saying Texas and Alabama in the repeat, which could happen. But I think Michigan and Texas. I mean, Alabama's gettable. I mean, they've proved it all year, right? They're gettable.
I was so close to my Texas-Washington prediction.
All
I was so
Michigan
close.
has to do is play a little bit faster, and their defense isn't going to be ready for it. I don't care what anyone says. I know that SEC football, they don't want to show their cards, blah, 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 but it is a slower conference, period. And I think that's where
Stronger.
Texas... That's
Bigger,
Slower.
stronger, slower.
Michigan is a good
I'm
football
okay.
Slower,
with-
sorry,
I'm
not
okay
stronger.
I'm okay
Slower.
with slower being used. I'm okay
They
with that.
are
As long as you
slower.
mention bigger and stronger.
Yeah, you look at
in
the
same
line.
breath.
They
You look
are-
at the
they are
offensive and
bigger.
defensive line
Yeah.
of any SEC team.
They're bigger,
huge.
100%. But they
And can
play
move.
slow, and that's where Texas got them. Texas got them because they played a little bit faster, and if Michigan can do that, I can guarantee you it's not going to be Alabama fans, oh, it's going to be a blowout. No, it's not.
It's not. It's going to
It's
be
not.
a really, really good football game.
It is.
I believe that.
And I think Michigan will come out on top.
I do too, actually. I just think
We agree on.
I hope Michigan beats them by 60.
except the Gasparilla Bowl. We don't agree on that one. So
Oh, sorry.
yeah, that's okay. Yeah, we have to come up with some kind of bet for that. That
Yeah,
would be
we could
fun.
do that.
I think it's hard to bet against Nick Saban.
It's hard to bet
anytime.
on any bowl game.
You're
because
a
nobody
moron
cares.
if you're betting against Nick
Yeah.
Saban. You might want Nick Saban to lose. You might hope Alabama, the whole state implodes.
I bet against Nick Saban when Texas and Alabama played, and guess what? I won a lot of money.
I
Yeah.
bet.
Well, find yourself a Michigan
I'm
fan
just
and
saying.
an Alabama fan, and bet them on the Michigan game. You can
All right.
become you can
You know
become
who,
the
F-
queen
you know
of
who
Michigan.
FSU plays their first game next year? Georgia Tech. In London, I think, or in Ireland, one of the two.
Probably
it is.
Ireland.
It is.
Yeah, yeah. So that should be an interesting game. I hope Tech doesn't lose their quarterback to the transfer portal. I don't think Haynes King's going anywhere. I think he's pretty cool. But like I said, Caleb, Daniel, what's his name? Dylan Gabriel.
Dylan Gabriel went to the portal.
Yeah, you know where he's going?
I don't really care. He changes teams like he changes underwear, man. I don't really
you know,
care.
they talked
He's
about
like
this.
LeBron James.
They talked about this. They said that, the transfer portal works out for a few players. Has it worked out for TJ Daniels? He's been to more schools and
He medically retired.
yeah, but he's been to what? Virginia, West,
got a lot
West
of jerseys
Virginia,
in his
Georgia
basement.
Tech,
Yeah.
Southern
US,
Woohoo,
go
USC,
West.
West
Oregon.
Virginia, Georgia, Rice.
and Rice, yeah, and
Wow.
so I would say probably 10 to 15% maybe
Yeah.
the transfer portal works out for, but
Not many. It's
Yeah.
going to work out for the quarterbacks,
For the elite
the
quarterbacks.
super wide receivers and running backs. Outside that, it's not working out.
Here's
for
a
you.
question for you.
how about one question before I forget because Adam loves to say this guy's name. Where's DJ going?
DJ Uwe Ungalale.
Did you see where he's going?
No, where's he going?
Louisville or Florida State?
Oh, please don't send him to Louisville. Oh, I hate
to
Jeff
the
Brom.
ACC.
Yeah, that's weird that
I
he
hate
would come
Jeff
back
Brom.
to the ACC.
Yeah, I thought that was all
Well,
right.
when do we
All
go
right, Jay,
back
what's your question?
to regular years of service? What they're allowed with COVID? They gave them another.
They gave him that extra
6 or
year.
7
So-
years.
Yeah, what? It's like 45 years or something. There's
I think we're-
60-year-old guys
I
out there
think
playing.
it
I think we're
starts
past
back.
it.
Yeah, I
Chris
think we're past it
Wanky
now.
still has the record on that one.
Because I didn't know how Dylan Gabriel had another year. I thought he was done, to be honest, but I guess he does have another
Somebody
year.
said something about where he's going, but I can't remember.
Who cares? He went from UCF to UCLA, and then he said, "Just kidding. Let me go to Oklahoma instead." I can't with that kid. I'm sorry. I can't.
Calm down.
Yeah, let's be true to your school. That just doesn't exist
That,
anymore.
no.
Hey,
Beach
none
Boys-
of those kids are getting
Beach
true.
Boys can
I
take
said.
that
Coaches
song
aren't
off
true
the
to
charts.
them and anything
no.
else.
Nobody's
My
true.
starting quarterback is from
Get your own.
Texas. So.
They're taking a page out of LeBron James. The decision. Dun, dun, dun. That's what's going to happen next with this transfer portal.
Yeah. So real quick, we'll go around the panel. Who's going to win the Heisman?
Not Jordan Travis, even though he's valuable enough to get his team kicked out of the playoffs.
Everybody likes, well, not everybody, but a lot of people like the Auburn rejects up there in Oregon.
Bo Nix?
So
I don't.
I think had he won the game last Friday night, I think
I
he
think it's gonna
wins
be
it.
Penix.
Because he lost the game, I think he's fallen to third, and I just can't believe how much love the LSU quarterback is
Jalen
getting.
Daniels. I think he's going to win it.
Because if you look at what his record says, the last guy to win a Heisman who had a record that bad is 40 years ago, because they started giving the whoever the quarterback on the best team gets the Heisman starting in the early 80s, and this guy's got 3 losses. and
Lamar's teams weren't great.
they were the year he won.
But
think it was 11
Where's
and
They
one or
Penix
didn't
on
make,
that
they didn't make
list?
the playoff that year.
Penix, he's
Yeah,
second.
where's Penix? He's in second
So
right now.
all 3 quarterbacks
He's
are
close. He's
transfer
close.
portal quarterbacks that are up for the Heisman.
Yeah.
And then we have Marvin Harrison Jr., who I love. I think he's the greatest receiver out there. But I don't think he's going to win the Heisman. I think Daniels is. I don't think Penix or Nix set themselves apart in the game the other night. They both
No.
played fairly well.
I
but
think
nothing
somebody should
great.
go check, because I think Bo Nix still has a towel sitting over his head like this. Because when there was like 3 minutes left in that game, it's like he's not even watching his defense. And then the game was over, and they're doing confetti, and then they show he still hasn't
He's still
moved.
sitting there with
He
his
still
head
hasn't
down.
moved.
Yeah.
It's like if you're the general manager of a team and looking at the draft, and you're like, oh hell no,
I agree.
What was that again?
oh hell no.
I thought that's what you said.
It's hard to beat a quarterback who's thrown for 3,800 yards,
His stats
40
are
touchdowns.
his stats are incredible, but
And then he's
nobody with
rushed
that
for
many
1,100
losses.
yards.
Nobody with that many losses has been in it, and there's been a lot of other good quarterbacks
Wait,
over the last 40 years.
Hold on. So you're saying a quarterback can be that good, but still have a losing record? What? So you're saying one player
I
who's
think
amazing.
we're gonna have to get her
I'm just
to pee in a
saying.
cup before she comes on the
I'm
show
just,
next time.
but can
Oh, wait,
you?
I got a bottle.
But can I just ask you, why can't this kid who? How many losses did LSU have?
They have
Three. But he had an amazing record. But he's gonna get the Heisman because you know what? He did
'Cause he's
great.
better.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's what they
Because
do
it's
when
subjective.
you're better.
But
Move this.
can't.
Yeah, we have to move on to pro because we
The-
got a sponsor that does picks. So we need to get into our 6 picks for sponsors. If you could do our American Access commercial, Robert.
I can. I just have to move this thing around a little bit. Tired of going to the same old places for the same old thing? American Access has your solution. Whether you're looking for something new to do before or after the game, bachelor or bachelorette party, or somewhere new to take those out-of-town guests, American Access has 3 Atlanta locations in Marietta, Tucker, and now in downtown at the Works. Each and every location is conveniently and not coincidentally located next to a brewery. Look us up at American Access or give us a call at 678-763-3635 to schedule your next adventure.
And we thank you, Dan Fisher, as well as Brian Bristow and Alvin Jamerson for being sponsors of the 3 Guys Who Love Sports. And don't forget, as you can tell my attire here, we have another show coming up at 7 o'clock all about Kennesaw State sports. The KSU Owls, and we'll be bringing on Callie Terza. Callie is not a frequent guest, but she's been on a couple times, and she signed a deal today with WWE and NIL. So can't wait to hear about Callie's adventure. And also, we have a new app for not only the 3 Guys Who Love Sports, but also the Owls Who Live Sports. So you can get on either one of those apps and follow us. There's some fun stuff on there.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more at 7. But right now, we've got 6 picks that we have to get through pretty quick. And you guys can pick the winners. I pick the losers. ATI's got his Drew Pearson jersey on.
No, it's CD Lamb.
It was Drew Pearson in my day.
Yeah, but it's CD Lamb. It says Lamb on the back.
Yeah.
They didn't retire Pearson's number.
I thought they had.
That's kind of crazy.
But they finally beat a team with a better than 500 record this week in Seattle. So big game this weekend. We'll get to them real quick.
Better record than the Falcons.
That's not saying much, but let's go. All right. Indy -5 at Cincinnati. Jake Browning won his first game this week. Very impressive game at Jacksonville, and got Trevor hurt. And we won't talk about Trevor being hurt, not making the playoffs. We've already been there. Indy -5. Jay, do you participate in this at all?
That's a -0.5, right?
I don't follow it enough.
Yeah, -0.5. Yeah. Okay.
Where
so,
are they playing?
In Cincy.
I'm
Cincy.
going Cincy.
Yeah.
That's a half a point.
That's
Yeah.
a half point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Going-
Robert?
I'm going to say Cincy too, although I definitely like what Indy's been doing lately. Indy's got like 4 in a row.
And he's got a good squad. I am going to give the axe to Cincy, which means I believe they're going to lose. So Indy will cover the half point and win.
Hey,
Seattle.
I didn't pick.
I just thought you wanted to wait on the Dallas game. Go
I'll take
Indy?
Indy. I love me some Jort boy.
Mr. Minshew?
Yeah.
Gordon Minshew.
Love Gardner Minshew. He's great.
All right, second game. Seattle +10.5 at San Fran. San Fran is now the cream of the crop in the NFL. If you think anybody else in the NFL is going to beat them or in the NFC, you're nuts, including the Cowboys.
That is false.
Yeah. So I am going to take the Seahawks as Chuck's axe. American Axes goes to Seahawks. So the Niners will cover the 10.5.
Agreed. I agree.
Look at that.
I
Are we
love
good or
Brock Purdy.
Hey, while we're doing that, so would you look up the UCF Georgia Tech spread in the bowl game, Adam?
Yes.
So me and
I'm taking San Fran as well.
all right, you're taking San Fran. Robert, how about you, buddy?
I'll take Seattle and all those points. Divisional game after that huge win on the right coast.
Debo Samuel kill me in my fantasy league.
UCF is favored by 4.5.
4.5. Thank you. All right. Buffalo +2.5 at Kansas City. I think that's at Kansas City.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Bills got to win.
The Bills have to win to stay in the hunt.
Every time I pick Kansas City, they get their asses kicked.
Good, pick them.
So I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick Buffalo to be the axe to
No.
lose. You gotta
But
remember, I
he's
picked
picking
them.
Buffalo to. He's picking Buffalo to lose.
I know, but I want Kansas City to
Well, that's why I'm picking them.
Oh, thank you. Okay, good.
Because if I pick Kansas City, they
Okay.
won't win. So-
Perfect.
Okay. All right, Robert. How about you?
I got to take the Bills, but the Bills right now are in 11th place in the AFC.
Yeah, they got a
You know,
lot. They got
you know,
a tall hill to climb to make
Yeah,
the
they
playoffs.
got Denver, Cincinnati, and Houston in front of them, and none of those teams are in the playoffs. So, got to have this one.
Yep, they do. All right, Denver +3 at the Chargers. Denver have been playing some good football lately. They did get beat this weekend, didn't they? Houston.
Yeah.
Yes, the
They did.
Strouds.
The
Fighting
Strouds took care of it.
Strouds.
But I'll just go ahead. I haven't picked Denver. I hate Denver. Everybody who watches the show knows that that's a horrible organization that's giving away all their picks for coaches and old quarterbacks. That being said, I watched those Chargers score 6 points and win a game last week. I am not picking the Chargers. That is not a good
How
football
about the
team.
Patriots? They haven't scored more than 10 points
Yeah,
in
that's-
3 games. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
When was the last 6-0 game? Was it 1957? I don't
Yeah,
know.
something
Serves
like
them right for all those years of cheating.
Belichick. Jay has a problem here with cheating. Everybody does it. I don't know.
I'm going with
You
Denver.
just get caught.
Everybody
That's the
doesn't get caught, right?
Going with Denver.
You're going with Denver to win? Mm-hmm. Okay, plus the 3 points.
I'm also going with Denver.
Only because I need the LA Chargers to win big. I need Keenan Allen to have a big day for my fantasy league. I'm
Well,
going to
then-
give the axe to Denver and pick the Chargers.
Well, maybe you should root for Denver, and that way they got to throw the ball the whole game. I don't know.
I just don't want to get into my fantasy league, Tony, because every time I think we're going to kill butt, we lose. So, but we're still in second place. Here's the big game of the week.
I wonder who Adam's
Huge.
gonna pick.
Tell me about it
Tampa
first.
Bay +2.5. Oh, you were talking about the other game. Philly +3.5 at Dallas. This is going to be a good football game because Philly got their butts handed to them in a sling.
In a big way.
Oh yeah, San Francisco clean
They
their
got
clock.
booed off their own.
They have what?
First half, they got booed. Their fans were booing them.
Oh, Philly's.
Their fans throw snowballs at Santa.
I mean, their fans are
With
awful, but like,
batteries inside it.
but like, come
Philly,
on.
Philly is not a fun team. They're not a fun fan base. They're not
What say
winning.
you,
They're not
Adam?
happy.
Tell me about why I should go with you.
Well, I hate the Eagles.
I know that.
Well, that's a good enough
That's
reason.
really not a good. Okay, committee.
Their fans throw snowballs at Santa. Jalen Hurts looks like he could be out for about 4 weeks after that hit against San Francisco.
But he came back in, correct?
Yeah, unfortunately.
So-
not that I was hoping for him to be hurt.
But when he came back in, he's probably not going to be out for the next 4 weeks since he did come
Yeah.
back in, right?
Yeah, but Philly sucks. I hate Philly, so I'm picking Dallas.
All right.
It's crazy how eloquent he can be on all sorts of subjects, but as soon as you bring up his own team, he's like, me no like it. Me like Santa. They don't like Santa. Me
you
no
sound
like
like
it.
the playoff committee right now. Sheesh.
I sound like the playoff committee.
All I know is
I
that
dare you
I've
pick
been-
against Dallas.
I've been talking about for a couple
picking
weeks
against
that the Falcons are going to be playing the Cowboys in the first
I'm
round of the playoffs.
very excited.
No, because after you win this week, which I'm going out and saying Jer's going to win this one, all of a sudden it could be Philly coming to Atlanta. Either way, Atlanta, you're going to
Enjoy your
Live
one
your
game
best
in the playoffs. All right, I am going to give the axe to Dallas.
Do it, Chuck.
To
Say
Dallas, because I think Dallas will win, but I think they'll win by 3. So I'm going to say Dallas
He
wins,
loves that hook.
but I love that hook. Yeah, so 3.5. I'm going to take the 3.5 points. How about you?
I say Dallas. I think Dallas is going to win. So.
Dak is now the favorite for the MVP.
Everybody loves Dallas.
Oh heck no! Because on Christmas Eve, I will not be liking Dallas. We will
who,
be enemies.
who are we playing on Christmas Eve?
Who do you think? The Miami Dolphins, the #1 team.
Oh, the Dolphins.
jeez.
The Dolphins can't beat a team above 500, so it won't matter.
And we talked about this last week. San Francisco is now the king of the NFC. The AFC is up for grabs. totally up for grabs.
Well, clearly the NFC's up for grabs as well. There's a lot of 3-loss teams, and there's San Francisco's still not in first place.
They're still the king of the
I believe Dallas would move into first place.
If
They would
win.
leapfrog them.
Are they 2 losses, Dallas?
We have 3.
They have the same record as San Francisco,
So So
which is the same record as the Lions.
and home field means a lot. Home field means a lot.
Yeah, but
why
the
Kansas City
Lions
to
won't
lose.
win anything.
That's why we want Kansas
No, but
City
I'm
to
just
lose because
saying.
we
I
don't
mean,
want the Dolphins to play there.
you're a game away from being a division winner or the 4th best team. Real easy.
Even though I'm not a current NFL guy, I hate Dallas.
No,
Everybody
get him
hates
off the
Dallas.
show.
All those
Get
years,
him off
anybody
the
from Atlanta
show.
should hate them because
I hate 'em.
all those years they knocked Atlanta out of the playoffs.
Get
And
him
I've
off
been
the
a
show.
lifelong Atlanta
That
Falcons fan.
1981.
heart.
Think how difficult that is.
I hate them.
Bless your heart.
I hate them because they fired Tom Landry, and he was the greatest coach
It's
ever
almost like
at that
being a
point in time.
Dolphins fan.
I
Yeah, it's
love
crazy
Landry.
how they fired him and then won 3 Super Bowls right off the bat.
We still got one more game, and we
right.
got a minute.
All right, we got to pick our Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who we've already beat in Tampa Bay this year. I think that was a game where
we
Ritter
didn't have,
fumbled
we didn't
twice
have
going
good
into
quarterback
the end zone.
play.
Well, that's been every game this year.
Correct.
Yeah. So they did beat the Jets this week.
Yeah, but
Yeah, he
a lot
looked
of
at
people
Sean's
beat the
a big
Jets.
team.
18-8 or another horrible.
Woo, they beat the Jets. Woo.
Yeah. But back home this week against Tampa Bay, we're still 3-0 in the division. If we win one more, we're going to have the best record in the division. And I think the last 5 games we have Tampa Bay, we have the Saints again, we have the Panthers again, and 2 other really mediocre teams. So we have a chance to go 5-0.
We have the second easiest record from here on out, based on
second
what's
easiest schedule.
correct.
Yeah, I kind of need you. I kind of need you to win.
Where's that Aints
It's
game?
Indy and Chicago.
It's in Chicago. Well, that's the only one I picked us to lose at the beginning of the
The
year. Is the
Saints?
Aints game?
It's in the Saints. It's in New
It's in
Orleans.
New Orleans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we beat them here a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and there were so many Saint fans. Holy
Oh, that's they travel, and that's an ugly crowd.
Yeah.
You think? I mean,
They're ugly
Philadelphia's
people.
probably the worst, but New Orleans is probably second worst.
And my favorite New Orleans story is Cincinnati Bengals was playing against him a couple of years ago, and the guy from Cincinnati tried to toss this ball to a Cincinnati fan, and the Saints fan took it and wouldn't give it to that guy. What a piece of dirt.
But you look at the
I used
NFC,
to like the Saints.
You look at the NFC
'Cause Drew
playoff
Brees.
line with New Orleans and Tampa Bay both being 5-7. They're only a half a game behind Minnesota or Green Bay, which is currently in the playoffs. So
Green Bay's
That's
coming
why
back.
I think I know you guys are going to be mad, but I think Tampa Bay wins because Tampa Bay has more to lose right now than the Falcons do. And let's be honest, it's the Atlanta Falcons. Do you guys really think they're going to win 3 in a row?
they don't have to win 3 in a row. If they do this,
No, but I
they'll
mean,
have
like
all
for
the
this.
tiebreakers.
No, but I mean for like this particular game, I don't see them winning because I don't see them winning 3 games in a row. I hate to say it, but it's like being a Dolphins fan a long time ago, and like they just always let you down. Like you think they're doing so well, then they let you down.
Well,
I get
the
it.
Falcons aren't doing that well, but
They're number 1
they're
right
running.
now.
Well, you know what? Who's the only guy with 5 interceptions and 3 forced fumbles in the NFL?
Mr. Bates.
Jesse Bates. Yeah, so their defense is playing better. They're like number 7 in scoring, which is pretty
Listen,
good.
my boy Nate Landman, he's a close friend of ours, and I'm all for them.
There you
Okay,
go.
I'm all for the Falcons and supporting them, but I don't see them winning 3 games in a row. I'm
Go
sorry.
Dirty
I'm
Birds.
glad you had to add the forced fumbles in there because otherwise Deron Bland has what 6 pick sixes now.
Yeah, Dallas guy.
If
right?
he'd have played for
Yes.
Louisville, he'd have had
All right.
9 more.
So Adam, who you got?
I have to pick Atlanta because I want to play in Atlanta.
Robert.
Yeah. We're a Falcons guy.
I'll give the axe to the Saints. I mean, to the Buccaneers. Or the Saints. whoever it was.
Let me tell you. Give me another one, barkeep.
Okay. So I will give the axe to the Tampa Bay Bucks and pull for my Falcons this weekend. So, guys, this has been quite the show. We went way over category, but I
It
had a
was
feeling.
worth talking about it.
I have a feeling that might work. Obviously, we're going to get into a little bit more. Maybe next week when I'm gone, they'll do a bowl extravaganza where everybody can send in and pick all the bowl games.
And we will have our bowl picks, the 3 guys who love sports bowl picks, where winner will win some Miller's Ale House cash.
We'll have to ask them, but I'm sure Mark will give us a $25
He gave it to us
gift
last year. I
card.
might be putting him on the spot. but-
No,
Put
I
him
saw
on the
earlier,
spot.
but I
If
didn't-
not, we'll have a good prize.
we'll have something cool. So,
Larry
guys,
will go into his basement, and God only knows what he has in his basement.
so Heather, thanks for writing in yesterday and saying you wanted to be on. That was awesome.
course.
Jay, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. And guys, as you know, wait, Bill, come over here. We have something to ask you. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, Bill with Miller's Ale House.
Dun dun dun! Hey, Bill. Turn around and smile at the camera. You're still on. There
So,
you go.
Bill, we're going to do our bowl tournament again next week. You'll give us a $25 gift card to give to the winner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful.
Oh,
All
you
right.
just put him on the spot, of course.
Hey,
he's
you
gonna
need to
say
see.
yes.
Last year, Bill gave $50. I'm just saying, Bill gave $50 last
Well,
year.
we want you to look at the new app where we've got you on there where people can actually order their food. So Larry will show you that after this. But we got to get out of here, guys. Don't forget, thanks again, you two. Know your numbers, cover your ass, get your prostate checked, and we'll see you next week at Miller's Ale House.
See ya.
As prepared as I could have been.